Good morning, everybody. Another beautiful day in paradise. So recently, I did this this a segment on the Examine Room regarding the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan. Well, currently, we had a topic about the war in Afghanistan. Rand Paul, senator who is representing a Republican representative, he had something to say about that.
Senator Udall and I are pleased to present a bipartisan amendment that will finally end America's longest war. Our amendment will finally and completely end the war in Afghanistan. Over 4,000 Americans have died in Afghanistan, and over 20,000 have been wounded. It's time to bring our soldiers home. I supported going into Afghanistan originally. Had I been in Congress at that time, I would have voted in favor. But the people that attacked us on 9/11 have all been killed or captured. Most of the people fighting us today are their successors or children or the children of their children. In fact, we now have soldiers who were born after 9/11 serving in Afghanistan. The cycle shows no sign of ending. The war shows no sign of ending. It is not sustainable to keep fighting in Afghanistan generation after generation. We've been fighting in Afghanistan for so long that our youngest soldiers fighting there weren't even born at the time. We have spent about $1 trillion to establish an Afghan government, a government that is rife with corruption and dysfunction. We've spent more to rebuild Afghanistan than the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe after World War II. We've built infrastructure in Afghanistan and then watched it deteriorate and watch the Afghans be unable to even maintain the infrastructure we built for them, and they ask us for more money to maintain the infrastructure. Meanwhile, our roads and our bridges crumble here at home as we rebuild the infrastructure in Afghanistan. One example, several years ago, we reportedly hired a local security consultant to help secure the roads at a cost of $1 million per year. But according to the report by the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, American officials came to suspect that the money was being funneled to insurgents to stage attacks on our infrastructure to justify the security contract. So our money was going to a guy who was paying insurgents to pretend to attack him so he could provide security for their infrastructure. It's crazy. We spent $43 million on a natural gas station. Guess how many vehicles in Afghanistan run on natural gas? 0. The gas station, you can't even find it. My staff went there to see if the money had been spent. They couldn't go there because it was too unsafe. Now the report is the gas station's been abandoned. $43 million. We spent nearly $80 million on a luxury hotel. Why is the American taxpayer building luxury hotels in Kabul? Guess what? The contractor ran off with the money. It's a skeleton, and Taliban now are said to climb up into the structure and shoot down at our embassy. What kind of foolhardy nature of government is it that we continue to stay there? These are just a few of the many examples that have had us spending more than we spent in Europe on the Marshall Plan. So we continue to pour good money after bad into Afghanistan, hoping that the outcome will somehow change, hoping that maybe the first 20 years will produce better results than the last 20 years did. This NDAA, this defense authorization that we're debating here in the Senate, even has a sense of the Senate in it, opposing a precipitous withdrawal from Afghanistan. We've been there for 20 years. How can we characterize withdrawal after 20 years after we defeated the enemy as precipitous? It's crazy. The American people say, come home, and this is your chance. Many people have said we should end the war. Today you get to vote. Are you for staying in Afghanistan for another generation? Are you for continuing a war that has lost its purpose? Today we get to vote. Up or down, are you for the war or against the war? Does the war still have a mission? The American people know better. They are ready to declare victory and come home. It's why President Trump's message resonated with so many. He said it's time to come home, and the people agreed. Not only is it time to end the war and focus on our needs at home, but it's time to reward those who fought the battle. We're spending $50 billion a year over there. In the savings in the first year, we will provide, Senator Udall and I will provide in our bill, a $2,500 bonus for anyone who has been deployed in the long war on terror. That's a pretty good bonus, and our soldiers deserve it, but they also deserve to come home because there's no military mission left.
So I'm just going to be real with you. I don't know Rand Paul that well. He has his moments, but do I know if he's doing this because for political gain, because he wants to win keep his seat, to make him look good, to at least attempt to look like he tried to really bring in, try to get the troops home? I honestly don't know. But I will give credit where credit is due. I do admire the fact that there is a discussion about bringing them home. I did admire that because it's ridiculous that after 20 years in war, I believe it's 2 decades in war, that this suddenly happens. That we're stuck in it and we haven't gotten out of it. And I'm surprised that we didn't talk about this. We haven't brought them home. It's starting to seem more and more ridiculous that it continues on. But Rand Paul puts on some excellent points. There should be some bonus compensations for these people who have been there for 20 years. I mean, there's no reason not to compensate them. They deserve it. They fought for our wars. Even when they weren't supposed to fight for this war, they still fought in it. A lot of people lost their lives. 20,000 of them are injured or are mentally dealing with something. This right here, I think, is a great idea. There should be a $2,500 bonus to those soldiers. Honestly, I could not give any more credit to Rand Paul for that idea. Sadly, I recently found out that it went 11 to 45, so they're not bringing the troops home. He brought up a lot of excellent points. Why are we there? What's the point? It seems pointless. We're wasting all this money, but we can't support our economy. And it's because the military complex runs it. They know that the more wars there are, the more money there is. That's why World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Iraq War, Afghan War, but both Iraq and Afghan War, and even the Vietnam War, were all a shady war. And yet we're still in the same history mistake that we've made with Afghan War. And it's really kind of very disappointing to see that this happened. That Democrats and Republicans, 45 said no. How is that even possible? I mean, you would think it'd be more neck and neck, but 45 said no, we're not bringing them back. Why? What's the argument? What's the logic? What's the reason? What is there? What's the possibility of leaving them there? I mean, there are already 20,000 that were injured. There's already a $2 trillion deficit or $2 trillion debt we owe, along with Iraq as well. I don't even know how to add those numbers on that one, top of that. And we lost over 2,000 lives already to this Afghan war. So why does it make sense that we're still there? We're not doing anything. We're just wasting more money trying to take over or run it. I don't have no idea, but the consensus is that it wasn't opioids. I made that mistake. It was oil that provided America this ability to stay there. And it's still oil that runs that ability, because let's face facts. If you have the most natural resources and you have it, you're going to have more of the power. That's pretty much how, I mean, if you look at any country, that's how it's been run for centuries. So I think that's what America's strategy is at this point. There's no other reason I can see at this point that we're still in this. And Rand Paul made a good point. And I just hope that we come to our senses.